Unbelievable header.
I mean, you've got to say, I thought De Gea should have probably done better.
I mean, definitely De Gea at this point was, look at him there, he looks more of a boy. And balls into the box were a problem for United, particularly if Vidic didn't play. And David Moyes is happy. And I think I think that was when we were watching that, I was at Wolves thinking, Everton are causing problems here in wide areas, particularly when they put the ball into the box.
Here's Rooney. Welbeck, Carrick. Here's Scholes.
You were playing in midfield against one of your great friends and one of the great Premier League players, Paul Scholes. What was that like?
Well,
was he talking to you during the game?
Yeah. We used to have a laugh, to be fair, during the games. You knew you was playing against one of the greats, but you also knew that he would allow you to play because he would sit a little bit deeper. Carrick used to sit a little bit deeper. So it was me and Darren Gibson. And we knew before the game we'd have a lot of the ball, and Moyes said to us before the game, you've got to take the ball at Old Trafford.
It's Nani's ball in, Rooney's there! That's the response that Manchester United needed!
See, I was at fault for this goal, but it was actually not my fault.
You were at fault for it, but it wasn't your fault?
No, because if you just look, I find myself, see there, number 10 in the middle of the goal with Scholesy. I should have gone to the near post there with Scholesy, but I ended up in the middle of the goal against Rooney. It was a brilliant cross from that. I couldn't have done anything about it.
You should never switch.
My reaction after he scores, hands on the edge straight away. See there, hands on the edge, my fault.
You should never
but it wasn't
switch.
My fault.
No, you should never switch.
Here's Nani. Cleared by Gibson and by Neville, but only to Danny Welbeck. And Welbeck shoots! What a beauty from Danny Welbeck that nudges United inches closer towards the title.
I actually could have done better with a header.
Again?
In the build-up to this game, yeah. If you just see that the ball ricochets up in the area, I should have done better.
Yeah, you were.
See, Johnny Eiting there just sells himself. I mean, that's a brilliant finish.
You had lead in your boots, didn't you?
Yeah, I just couldn't get off the floor.
Did you think Gibson was going to go up for it initially?
No, I was tired.
Thanks for that.
I was tired, I couldn't get off the floor, but it was a brilliant finish.
Scholes. Valencia, away by Jagielka. And Everton really now are going to have to show all their resolve to keep Manchester United at bay. It's clear they've got the bit between their teeth now.
At this point, you're thinking, what?
Game over. You think game over because United were just surging forward. United didn't stop going forward. They just kept surging forward. They got the rhythm. That's a brilliant goal. Welbeck involved again.
It actually, to be fair, it's nice to see this game because it reminds me what football actually should look like at Old Trafford. When you think about it, this was only 4 or 5 years ago, and you think of that goal, one touch.
See left back on Nani there, distant. Didn't stay with the run, Silman distant. But the finish, one touch play, interchanging of positions, one touch play, brilliant finish. And after this goal, as they were celebrating going back, one of the United players said to me, tell your team to calm down now, will you? And I don't think I've ever been as angry on a football pitch.
Which United player said that?
I'm not going to say which, because what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch, but to win a league title you don't start saying things like that, and that's what made me angry. Titles shouldn't be handed on a plate. And we'd played well, and I thought it's a bit disrespectful that.
Everton space. Fellaini! They are back in it, and that really does give Manchester United a shake-up.
We scored straight away, 3-2 Fellaini, another cross from the right-hand side.
I mean, Fellaini's performance there in that game, David Moyes obviously signed him for United when he went there, but he was a massive danger and problem for United, particularly defenders, wasn't he?
Do you remember the first game of the season?
Yes, I do. Carrick
Ferdinand was out, Carrick centre back with Vidic, Fellaini was unplayable, he scored the winning goal, we won 1-0, and we played the same tactics, get the ball up to the big man, and control and get further up, closer to him, and control the game from Fellaini.
Now, I have to say, at that point, I was watching this remotely. You're thinking, oh no, Because you're straight back in it, aren't you?
Straight back into it.
But United carry on going forward.
Oh, this is brilliant play. Over from... He caused Johnny Eitinga so many problems.
Welbeck leaves it for Rooney. Rooney's back in the middle. Wayne Rooney! Manchester United back on the edge of glory.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant. And that's 4-2.
Absolutely brilliant.
That's Man United.
Yeah.
And just, you know, you play against that, and sometimes you just say you just cannot defend it. You just got to applaud it.
No, the movement. I mean, that was York and Cole. They've got the title in their hands, haven't they?
Well, you see Sir Alex there. He looks
relaxed.
He looks relaxed. 4-2 up. They're not going to throw it away.
Tina. Neville.
See Fellaini's position again. Onto Johnny Evans.
Cleared to Janovic! And it's not all over yet. There are still 8 minutes left, and Everton have closed the gap again.
And United don't pick up the second one, and that was straight away again. So we just kept bouncing back.
I mean, you wouldn't say it's a great pass. It's a chip into a good area. And the centre half.
I think it deserves better than just a chip into a good area.
Who knows what might happen if Gibson can pick out a ball here. Here's Cahill. Now Neville to his left. Tina.
And then the killer blow. Probably one of the most disappointing
Cahill.
moments.
Neville finds Marouane Fellaini, who's given them a scare once. It's Pina! And can you really credit it? It is 4-4. This extraordinary title race takes another unbelievable twist.
There aren't many times where I can say United threw a league away. There is no doubt that this game, this 10 minutes, this 15 minutes end of this game goes down as one of the probably only times I can think of where I can say we threw a league away. Too deep, not getting out of the box, letting players bring it down, runners. It's not. It's a simple pass, isn't it? But
do you think it's a simple pass? I mean, don't stay with runners. Raphael didn't stay with the runner. Scholes vacated the middle of the pipe. Rio's not picking up or seeing the runner. And all of a sudden it's 4-4. And that was it. League, really, over.
United trying to keep as many men forward as they can afford as Raphael pulls it across. Rooney, Ferdinand! Terrific save! Has Tim Howard just denied his former side the title?
What a save.
Shake of the head from Rio. He knows that that's given City a big... Well, the door's ajar.
What did you think of our performance, watching it?
I thought I was more angry.
Do you think it was a scandalous performance?
I was angry with United at 4-2 because I thought that they should have... You shouldn't have shut up shop, but they should have managed the game a lot better. They didn't manage the game. They carried on going forward, committing bodies. They didn't deal with Fellaini. They didn't deal with balls into the box. It was a naivety, I think, in the last 10 minutes from a team who shouldn't be naive because, to be fair, they've got a lot of champions in there and experience. Yeah. So, from my point of view, I was more angry with United. I wasn't really... from the very first minute, Everton were causing problems. The first goal told you everything the game was going to be. Balls into the box, Jelic scoring with a header, Fellaini scoring with a cross. Those moments, when you have moments like that, you've got to try and stop it in the game. And I think United should have dealt with it a lot better.
And there goes the full-time whistle, and it's advantage Manchester City as the title race takes a surprising tilt towards the men from Eastlands, because Sir Alex Ferguson knows they've thrown the door open to their rivals.
How did that feel, sort of night of the game? Mixed feelings in terms of us being a United fan?
After the game?
Yeah, after the game.
Well, we had Gibson, ex-Man United, me, ex-Man United, Tim Howard, ex-Man United. There's big motivation when you go back to Old Trafford and you're playing against the team that you love. It was awful after the game because I thought it my best ever performance, definitely in an Everton shirt. And normally when you play at Old Trafford, you come off after the game, you see all your friends, you see all your family, you look around all the place where you'd spent half of your career. But it was just get in the shower and get away. You can't be seen to be gloating, because I knew that could have cost United the league. I remember phoning Mum and Dad after the game and saying that's United aren't going to win the league. They're just not. I think that result's cost them, and I didn't want to be hanging around the place gloating about our own performance.
I don't think you've been welcome either.
No, it took me 2 years really to get back in for them to say hello to again.
Disappointing day for me, dagger in the heart of United, but at least you played well and made a couple of decent passes.
Best time again.
Coverage of the Premier League continues on Monday, September 13, with Everton against Burnley. The Toffees have made a bright start to the season and are favourites to put the brakes on the Clarets when they come calling at Goodison Park. Game time 3 p.m. ECT, 2 p.m. in Jamaica, only on Rush. Leeds United did the double over Newcastle United in the Premier League last season, including a 2-1 victory at St James's Park. Marcelo Bielsa's men will look for a repeat when they visit the Magpies on Friday, September 24 for their first meeting of the new season. Match time 3 p.m. ECT, 2 p.m. in Jamaica, and it's live and exclusive on Rush.
The semblance of normality returns. Fans are back.
Why do players take the knee? Let's discuss some home truths. Racism isn't a comfortable conversation. But racism never went away.
But someday soon, gestures of this sort will no longer be necessary.
Racism is a real problem. It's societal. It's blatant prejudice. It's more than social media abuse. It's certainly bigger than football.
In the fight against racism.
And this here is much more than just a gesture. It's about recognising reality and demanding change. It's a symbol of pride and identity, pride in using our platforms for change. That's why players take the knee. So if you're a supporter, support this.
Brentford's debut season in the Premier League got off to a rousing start, and manager Thomas Frank takes his team to the Midlands hoping for even more glory. The Bees will head over to Molineux on Saturday to confront Wolverhampton Wanderers in an early kickoff starting at 7:30am ECT, 6:30am in Jamaica, and it's only on Rush.
The feel-good factor at Goodison Park is back, and match week 4 in the Premier League culminates with Rafa Benitez's unbeaten Everton taking on Burnley. The blue half of Merseyside have picked up 7 points from their opening 3 matches, and victory by 5 clear goals would see them go top. But today they'll be without leading scorer Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's missing with a thigh problem. Deadline day arrival Solomon Rondon is on the bench. Opponents Burnley are still looking for their first win, and results over the weekend has meant they've dropped into the relegation zone. They've won just twice in 12 league outings since victory at Goodison in March. Dwight McNeil scored back then, and today makes his 100th Premier League appearance. So here's the team news in full. Richarlison will lead the line for Everton in the absence of Calvert-Lewin. Ben Godfrey is fit for the first time this season. He starts in a back 3. Captain Seamus Coleman was a doubt but plays at right wing back. As for the visitors, their new signing Maxwell Cornet, who can play on either wing and also at left back, is named amongst the subs. Sean Dyche has named the same side that drew with Leeds a fortnight ago. Well, thanks for joining us here on Matchday Live, and I'm delighted to be in the company of Owen Hargreaves and Leon Osman. Leon, let's talk about that team news for Everton. No Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We know how much of an impact he has on this Everton side. How much will he be missed tonight?
Yeah, he's going to be a miss. I think when any side misses their main goal threat, their number 9 who plays right through the middle, and a player who's been in great form over the last 18 months, it's going to affect you. But you know, I feel that Rafa was probably going to make a slight tactical change for this game. He's gone to 3 at the back. He's going to match up, or at least go with the man spare with regards to Burnley's front 2. And I think it gives the Burnley back four something different to think about, rather than potentially being up against a big centre forward in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a different type of striker in Richarlison who can run the channels and come deep, maybe not play right up against those players, but regardless of that, he will be a big miss.
He will be. I mean, he's made Premier League history because he's the only player to have scored in the first 3 games of back-to-back seasons. I mean, that's how important he is. But if we just take a look at Everton as a whole, have you liked what you've seen? Because Rafa said he wanted to come in and change the mentality, and it looks like he's done that.
I think you've got to love it. I think Rafa is the perfect kind of Everton manager. Even though Carlo Ancelotti had this huge name, managed some huge teams, I think Rafa fits Everton better in terms of the style of football that he wants to play. Carlo, obviously played in some huge teams where they dominated the ball. Rafa, they're kind of playing on the counter, defensively very solid, and this team is going to be very good this season. I think Rafa, with the utmost respect to the players, is their best acquisition. I know they had financial fair play issues, but Demarai Gray has been terrific, and I just like the balance of the team. I think Everton in for a good season.
Well, Leon thinks they could go top of the table tonight. What do they have to win by, though?
I think it's 5. I've done the multiplications and everything. 5, but I don't want to be greedy. Seamer, any kind of win would be satisfactory. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, let's now hear from the manager, and here he is talking about the star striker who's missing.
Rafa, no Dominic Calvert-Lewin tonight. Can you bring us up to speed as to why that is?
To be fair, he broke his toe, and then he was training with problems. And then he was playing with pain, and then he has an injury the other day, and that is the problem now. He has the quadriceps, and then we have to wait 2-3 weeks, maybe more. We will see.
How much of a disruption has that been to your preparations for this one today?
It's always a problem when you lose one of your best players, but okay, we have to manage that, and then hopefully the other players, they will do well, and we will not missing him.
You brought Ben Godfrey in tonight. Does that involve a change of shape, perhaps 3 at the back?
You will see sooner rather than later, but yeah, maybe it's an indication.
Overall, Rafa, it's been a pleasing, positive start to the season for you. What do you feel has been the key?
I think the team spirit is very good. To play the first game at home with the fans behind was helpful. To win, and the way that we won the first game gave us a lot of confidence, and then little by little the team has been growing in confidence. So the atmosphere is very good in the training sessions. The relationship with the fans, between players, the staff, so everything is fine, but you have to keep winning to keep that.
Without being able to spend much money, you brought several new faces into the squad. How well equipped do you feel you are? Several. Okay, you wish it was 7, I'm sure.
Yeah, it could be.
How well equipped do you feel you are for the season?
I said in one of the press conferences that I'm really pleased with the players that we brought. So we were looking for these positions, and we were also looking for another backups in some position, but we couldn't do that. But really pleased, because I think that they saw on the pitch, some of them, that what they can do, and hopefully the others will do the same in the future.
So the thoughts of Rafa Benitez there. So we've got Richarlison leading the line with new signings Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend either side. But Richarlison can cause any defence problems on any day, can't he?
Yeah, fantastic player. And I think the way that Everton defend and they kind of play on the counter, he's the perfect player, because he can cause a threat, whether he's on the left-hand side or through the middle. Obviously, Demarai Gray and Andros Townsend, 2 terrific wingers. So I think with the balance of the team, Alan and Doucouré, I like the way that Rafa sets this team up. I think defensively, that's where they want to be solid. They don't have much possession, but he has really good attacking players, and that's why Richarlison is the star man with Calvert-Lewin now.
Absolutely, and also Doucouré, we always seem to be talking about him because he's been such a standout player for Everton. His role has evolved, though, hasn't it, under Rafa? How is that?
Well, it has, and it's been very good to see. He's suddenly started playing with a real freedom. We'd seen this kind of dynamic ability when he played at his previous club, and we haven't quite seen it in an Everton shirt. He's been very sensible, playing alongside Alan in the middle of the park, making sure that there was no real opportunity for the opposition, and he was more of a defensive player. But this season, Rafa Benitez has given him a real freedom, as he has with the team, to get forward into goal-scoring positions, no longer being on the edge of the box for winning the ball back, actually being a goal threat for the opposition. And you'll see time and time again, I think he's already had more shots in the opening games of this season than he did in the whole of last season. Getting forward into the position, not thinking defensively, driving forward. And if you've got the power and running ability that he has, you're able to get in there quite freely. You're causing the opposition problems. They're thinking about you rather than knowing you're always going to be in a defensive shape. Previously, he'd lay that off to Alan or maybe to Iwobi and just sit in that middle of the third, middle of the pitch and let the attackers ahead of him go about their business, but no longer doing that. Look how quick he can stride into the opposition's penalty area, create opportunities and become a real threat from Everton. And it's so much different from that position that he'd spent the last season doing so. And I think the heat map speaks for itself.
Well, actually, interestingly, last season he scored 2, assisted 3. So now I guess we're expecting those numbers to go up this time round.
Well, to be fair, when he was at Watford, he was always in and around, 10 in terms of goals and assists, 5 and 5. So I think Leon's right. There is potential there, but I think his role changes depending on who he's playing with. With James Rodriguez in the side or Andre Gomes, he had to play a bit deeper. They're not playing, so there's a bit more license for him to get forward. But I love him, actually. I remember speaking to Declan Rice, and I said to him, "Who's the hardest player you play against this season?" When I interviewed him, and he said Doucouré when he was at Watford, and that tells you when the players tell you somebody like that. That ability that he has to get box to box is very important, and that's why he's such a good player.
But I don't feel he was showing that last season at Everton, that drive from midfield. As I said, he'd lay it off and make it easy for
But don't you think that was because Gomez and James were in there? I don't think he probably thought, my job is to keep it tight, probably.
Yeah, potentially, but I mean, when you've got a player who can run like that, can trouble the opposition like that, can break the lines of defenders, get beyond strikers, all in this one package. To now, Rafa's seen it, to let him off the leash, let him go and be a threat to the opposition. I think already you're seeing a much improved player.
Overall, when we're looking at Everton, has Rafa won the hearts of the fans now, especially considering how they've started? Surely he has.
Well, he's Sir Rafa at the moment.
Oh, he's
if he
Sir
loses
Rafa
today, we'll want him out again.
So he'll have a statue at some point, but if he loses today...
No, he's been great. He's done everything that you'd want. Come to the club, understand how to go about winning the fans' hearts, making sure there's action at the top end of the field, getting the crowd really engrossed in the game, and it's all gone great so far, even on this shoestring budget, but you judged over the whole season.
And another player I actually wanted to talk to you about was Ben Godfrey, because I know you're a big fan of his, makes his first start this season.
I am a big fan of his. He's been an incredible signing since he came in from Norwich. Was in at the deep end in the Merseyside derby, his first performance, and performed very well, and actually was very unfortunate to just miss out on the England squad. He got in the squad just before the Euros, didn't quite have enough game time, but he's one to watch. He's missed out on the start of the season, but it's great to see him back involved in the team.
And what about the new signings? How do you feel about the new signings? Have they impressed you?
Well, I think Damari Gray has been fantastic. I mean, what did he cost? 1.5 million. I mean, and obviously, and I know financial per player they had some issues there, and I'm sure they'll probably spend in the summer. But this kid, the impact that he's had already, is and the talent's always been there. Everybody has seen that, but he hasn't really had the opportunity. And it looks like Rafa's given the platform, and I think with Andros Townsend on the other side, that is a player that can create and cause trouble on his own.
Do you wonder sometimes that players just fit in the right clubs, and maybe in his other clubs he hasn't quite found that place? Do you think at Everton he's found where he belongs?
You wouldn't have thought really Rafa probably would have been the perfect man, would you? Because Rafa wants the attacking players to do defensive work as well. You see with James Rodriguez, completely bombed him not playing. So obviously Damari has to buy in. Seems like he's bought into that what Rafa wants, but also at the top of the pitch, I think he can offer so much because he's technically such a good player.
Well, he's ticked all the boxes with regards to what Everton were missing last season. They were missing pace on the counter-attack. They were missing ability in wide areas, ability to cross the ball, and in Damari Gray in particular, but Andros Townsend, the players he's brought in, Rafa's already covered that, and now he brought in Rondon, covered for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's going about reconstructing this side very well. OK, well, we are going to take a break, after which we will focus on Burnley. They are one of 9 teams to have walked away with maximum points from Goodison Park last season. And we're going to hear from the manager, Sean Dyche, after the break.
No more than a mediocre season for Sean Dyche's Burnley, but the side never really looked in serious danger. Perhaps largely due to the hardships of the relegation teams, the Clarets avoided the drop with 3 games to go, finishing in 17th place. Burnley's season started poorly, with 3 straight losses for the first time in a top-flight season since 1927.
Saint-Maximin taking on Taylor and beating him. Brilliant ball, and Newcastle are back in front. Callum Wilson.
1 point from the next available 9 was all the Clarets could muster. And after a thumping defeat by Chelsea,
Werner, it's a fantastic 3 for Chelsea.
they were bottom of the table and struggling, a position they hadn't occupied since September 2018. The Clarets' first win of the season came as late as November at Turf Moor, as they clambered briefly out of the relegation places.
What? Oh, beautifully taken. All in his stride.
However, they were soon dumped back into the drop zone by a ruthless Manchester City. The side enjoyed some welcome relief a few weeks later with their first league win over Arsenal since 1974.
Can Burnley break through? They can.
It picked up a little further with Burnley taking 7 points from an available 18. Before heading to Anfield in the new year, where they would bring an end to Liverpool's unbeaten run of 68 Premier League games in dramatic fashion.
And Bond scores for Burnley!
That late winner was only Burnley's 10th goal of the season, a joint lowest with Sheffield United. Though they'd recorded a famous victory here, they needed goals. A week later, there was real progress, recording their only consecutive wins of the campaign.
And Wood has snuck it in! What about that?
Scoring 3 against Villa would be the last time they won at home all season. Burnley then experienced sporadic results over the next few months of the campaign. Some forgettable performances and results kept them perpetually floating just above the relegation zone, though the manager never seemed to panic.
Thank you very much for reminding everyone of that clear fact that I obviously do not like Mick Hucknall. Thank you.
The Clarets enjoyed their biggest away win in the top flight since 1965, thrashing Wolves at Molineux.
McNeil swinging the corner in, and there it is, his hat-trick. Chris Wood's first in 7.5 years.
Burnley would head into the final month of the season in 14th place. In their last win of the campaign, they secured Premier League status, condemning Fulham to an immediate return to the Championship at the same time.
It comes for Chris Wood to strike, and Burnley get a firmer grip on their place in the Premier League next season.
In their last 3 games, the Clarets offered little to suggest they deserved much more than their eventual 17th place finish. With 7 defeats in their final 9, it was a season climax to forget. They'll surely need to strengthen ahead of the next campaign.
Kick-off for Everton against Burnley is less than 15 minutes away. Last season, Burnley left Goodison Park with all 3 points. Chris Wood and a stunning strike from Dwight McNeil secured the win. A repeat for Sean Dyche's side would lift them out of the drop zone. And we can hear from the Burnley boss now.
Sean, just the 1 point on the board so far, but in your view, have your performances warranted more?
Well, whether they do or they don't, you've got to make sure that you get more. I think we've been at least, given as good as we've got in games, but we've made a few mistakes. Both boxes we've got to tidy up, but I think the general level of performance has been at least decent. But as I said, you've got to make sure that you get points on the board.
Brought 5 players in, haven't you, in the window? How pleased have you been with the business you've been able to do?
Well, we'll see. It's early yet, Obviously, a couple will come in more building for the future as well. But, the obvious one is Maxwell coming in late on. He's only trained with us 2 days. So, it'll be more of a period for him to settle in, get used to what we do. But it's good. I think it's good activity for us this window. So we hope these players do well.
Sean, you enjoyed a big win here back in March with a big performance, a great performance. What do you need to replicate tonight to get something?
Well, I think they've had a good start. I think you've certainly got to match the energy. You've certainly got to match the feel of the performance from them in this stadium. You know, crowds back in, etc., etc. But I think it's still, you know, a lot of it comes down to our intent. I think really, you know, the body language, the intent of our performance to take on the game, and I think we've grown with that away from home over the seasons in the Premier League. But we're sure, you know, we've got to do that tonight against these.
Burnley still in search of their first win this season, and he was asked about new signing Maxwell Cornet, who starts on the bench, £12.9 million signing from Lyon. He seems like quite a versatile player. What can you tell us about him, Owen?
He's a good player, can play multiple positions. He was terrific in the Champions League for Lyon, especially against Manchester City. Can play as a left back, as a left winger, can be very direct as well. So I think he gives them that. I don't think there's a ton of pace in this Burnley side. He has that. That's his great quality. But he's a good player that can play multiple positions. But I think for Sean, he hasn't really tended to go for many foreign players in the past. Even Defoe, I think, was the last one, and that didn't work out. So it'll be interesting to see how they works out. Because if it goes well, then maybe they could dip into that market more. Because he trusts the British players, seems the most, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's quite meticulous in his decisions to bring in players, isn't he? He wants to make sure he gets them right, that their characters are right, and more importantly, that they cover multiple positions, as you've just said, because he can play left back, left side, could even play right side, cutting in on that, onto that left foot. And, you know, when you've got a squad that is limited in numbers generally, that's the kind of thing that Sean Dyche has to do. He's not always going to have loads of money to spend. He has to make sure he gets his decisions right. So, as you said, he's probably hoping as much as knowing that this decision is going to be the right one. Interesting that none of the new signings feature in the starting 11 as well.
Well, we were just joking that these players are probably slightly bored of each other, because most teams there's always new faces, fresh faces, whereas these guys is tried and tested, 4-4-2. And I don't think Sean Dyche gets enough credit. And these players, for that, they stay in the league even though they barely spent any money after every season. I know last season was tough. This season might be tough, but compared to the money everybody else spends, these guys do a fabulous job.
Yeah, absolutely. We say this every season, don't we? He deserves so much credit. OK, on that note, we are going to take a break, after which we will be heading straight to Goodison Park. It's Everton against Burnley under the lights. We'll take you there after the break.
Rush. Keep believing.
It's Burnley who make an immediate impact. Look at that! They've come out firing and very much on the front foot. Burnley back on the front foot. Barnes knocks it down. No offside! And Chris Wood has put it away. What a record he has against West Ham. A fifth goal in 4 Premier League games against the Hammers. He's lost out here, Pereira. Real options for Burnley! And blasted into the back of the Old Trafford net by Ashley Barnes. It was catastrophic from Andreas Pereira. It was absolutely ruthless from Ashley Barnes. Intelligent pass for Wood. He scored 2, and Burnley are on the way to getting themselves out of the bottom 5 and compounding the relegation woes of Brighton. There's nicely for McNeil. McNeil tries to find the gap. He knows, brilliant! A significant goal, not just today, but for the whole season for Burnley. And that has lifted the mood of Turf Moor.
The crosses, and there is me jumping for it. The volley from Jeff Hendrick is absolute to perfection. And Burnley take the lead at Stamford Bridge. Great technique, glorious technique.
What is belief? Trust. Faith. And confidence in someone or something. No matter what. Keep believing.
Whether we're in a stadium or not, there's no room for racism. Not out there, not in here. There's no room for racism.
No room for racism.
Anywhere.
Take a knee. They kneel in unity.
But without actions,
Genuinely powerful sight.
there are just words. There's no room for ignorance or intolerance, for hate, for injustice, for sitting in silence, for doing nothing.
I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed. We want equality in society, in football.
We all need to do more. Challenge it.
The CCTV will find the perpetrator of that and he will have a lifetime ban.
Report it. Change it. Premier League. No room for racism. Anywhere.
Merseyside to complete match week 4 in the Premier League. It is 8th that take on 18th in the Premier League table. In fact, Everton, if they take 3 points, they will go joint top of the table. But Leon, they win by 5 clear goals. They are top, and I know you're very excited about this prospect.
Well, why wouldn't you be? That's what makes the Premier League special. You want to believe that your club can be successful, and that's what all Evertonians are probably thinking right now, a chance to get to the top of the league. But look, Burnley are no mugs, they're no pushovers. It's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a match-up of styles. Everton have played well on the counter-attack so far. Burnley like to play for set pieces. Be interested to see who comes out on top.
It certainly will indeed. Well, let's hand you to your commentary team of Andy Townsend and Martin Tyler.
Well, they've met 14 times in the Premier League. 7 wins for Everton, 6 for Burnley. Just the 1 draw, which was the game at Turf Moor last season. And they have played each other a lot down the years. Traditional football clubs in this traditional stadium. And Everton, of course, are on the move to a new site. No one will ever forget Goodison Park, where the COVID restrictions are still in place, meaning that Burnley have got changed in a porter cabin in the car park. But that was the same when they came here last season and they won the game, so there's no worry on that score that they will feel underwhelmed by less than usual Premier League changing facilities. And they're very down to earth anyway. Of all the teams, they'd be the least concerned about any deprivations. But to the familiar Z-Cars theme, out come the Toffees. Of all the sides that struggled at home last season with no fans, Everton be right up there. But the signs are good. They came from behind to win their only home game so far against Southampton. And let's bring you up to date with the team news. 2 managers with almost 1,000 games between them in English football. Jordan Pickford, England's #1 in goal for Everton. Gary Mina and Ben Godfrey join Michael Keane in a back 3 this evening. That is a change of formation. The right wing-back, Seamus Coleman, was hurt representing the Republic of Ireland, but he's recovered. Alan and Doucouré in the engine room. Luca Digne on the left. They've 2 new wide players this season, Andros Townsend, Damari Gray, but it's Richarlison between them. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who scored in all the previous Premier League games this season, picked up a thigh injury in training. Salomon Rondon, signed right at the end of the transfer window, could make his debut for Everton from the bench. Nick Pope, one of Pickford's international understudies with England. A milestone for the Burnley captain, Ben Mee, his 200th Premier League match, the first Burnley player to reach that mark. Congratulations to him. And in midfield, the talented Dwight McNeil reaches 100. He scored in the 2-1 win here in March. And so too did the New Zealand striker Chris Wood, who needs 2 more goals to reach 50 in the Premier League. His first was against Everton for Leicester City 7 years ago. Burnley, as often is the case, Andy, unchanged.
Indeed, yeah. So different dynamic for Rafa Benitez and the Everton team tonight. Back 3, no Calvert-Lewin, that focal point. Not going to be quite so prominent, but look, still lots to be excited and enthused about, with Damari Gray in particular, who's looked very good since the start of the season. And of course with Burnley, what you see is very much what you get. They're going to be hard-working, gritty, determined, and if they get a chance, they've got 2 experienced pros in Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood, who just might take one.
So Ben Mee prepares for his personal 200th Premier League game. Rafa Benitez knows what to expect from the Sean Dyche style of football. Duncan Ferguson alongside him. A great hero here, of course, in his playing days. Sean Dyche continues to make Burnley greater than the sum of the individual parts. A change of referee tonight, incidentally. Andre Mariner, not fit for duty. And Martin Atkinson takes his place. And his first task will be to orchestrate the taking of the knee, which remains such an important message from the Premier League footballers. No room for racism. And the crowds are with the gesture, and rightly so. So here we go. A slightly autumnal feel to this Monday evening on Merseyside. The pitch in great condition, a bit of a slick top to it. And both teams will try to use that to their attacking advantage. There's Ashley Barnes straight away. And Burnley on the front foot straight away with Goodmanson. And Matlow submitting in the cross. Forward by Doucouré, who has been encouraged by Rafa Benitez individually to widen his game, really. Got more goals. He's got one already. He says his target is 5. And he was very much a defensive midfield player under Ancelotti. Here's Richarlison, who's got extra responsibility tonight. And that challenge from Brownhill was not a very nice one.
Just a little late there, wasn't it? Catching Richarlison as he tumbles to the floor. Interesting for Everton. Ben Godfrey in the middle of those.
Oh, we saw them warm up like that, Andy. And we sort of whether it was a bit of a bluff. But
exactly, we
it
weren't
wasn't
quite sure. No, so that's an interesting dynamic. And of course, as we just see a rerun of that, Josh Brown, who takes a poor one actually. That'll be the last one he's allowed to make like that.
Yeah, the right foot played the ball, but it was the left foot scissoring in from behind, and that can twist a knee or an ankle, it might seem in this case. And
he's not happy, Rafa, and I can understand that. You know, sometimes, Martin, because it happens so early in a match, they can go under the radar a little bit, some of those sort of challenges, and you can maybe get away with them. And I think the Everton manager is particularly unhappy with that one. Hopefully Richarlison's OK. I think he is.
Well, he's playing through the middle, of course, in the Calvert-Lewin role, and he does like doing that.
He does like doing that. He can be very, very good at it. And it's an interesting dynamic we have tonight with regards to Everton. Usually with Calvert-Lewin, they're whipping